Good morning to all our viewers in the Caribbean, and a very good evening to our Indian viewers. And welcome to Coach's Corner. About a couple of weeks ago, we had our Captain Rayad Emrit, and we had a nice little chat with us with regards to some of our retentions and generally about life in general with regards to the lockdown. And we also quizzed him a bit on his preferred all-time CPL 11 and his preferred all-time West Indies 11 and all of that. And today we've got an amazing guest who's joining us all the way from Melbourne. He's none other than our head coach, Simon Helmot. Welcome, Simon. How are you?
Hi, Nev. How are you?
I'm good. How's the lockdown been in Australia?
Oh, gee, it's been pretty tough. Obviously, it's been difficult not, seeing people, being outside, missing extended family members. It's been difficult not doing lots of coaching. Often in winter time, I've been away overseas coaching, so being at home has been a little tough from a professional sense. But I must admit, I've really loved spending time with my 16-year-old son Jack, my 13-year-old daughter Molly, and my wife Kelly. We've had some really cool time together. Lots of family meals, board games, lots of discussion, lots of fun together. So I have appreciated the concentrated family time. But I'm very much looking forward to getting over to Trinidad and playing with the CPL, and very much looking forward to joining my new family, the St Kitts and Nevis Patriots.
Awesome. That's lovely to hear from you, Simon. And before we get moving, I've got some interesting bit to talk about you to our viewers and all our fans who are going to be watching this. So basically, Simon became a coach when at the age of 25, when normally people play cricket at their peak. And you were still a player back then and coaching at a university cricket club in Melbourne. How did that transformation from player to coach at such a young age happen?
Yeah, I suppose, Nav, it happened where I was my dream of playing for my country probably diminished. I felt I didn't have quite the technique to play at the highest level. But I was a teacher by trade, and using my education experience and my passion and love for cricket, I started coaching at Clubland, cut my championships at lower levels, and the pathway continued, and we find ourselves working to each other in 2020.
Absolutely, mate. So to all our viewers, Simon actually became the high performance manager for the Victoria Bushrangers and coached the Australian A side in 2008. In 2008 and 9, Simon also coached the Bushrangers in the One Day Cup, taking them to 3 finals and winning the title in 2010 and 11. He also coached the Melbourne Renegades in the Big Bash from 2011 to 15. And he also coached TKR in the CPL for 3 years. And he also won the championship for them in 2015. And he was also the head coach for the Bangladesh High Performance Program for almost 3 years. And closer to India, he was also the assistant coach for the Sunrisers. And the Sunrisers also reached the playoffs 5 out of 7 times. And they also won the title in 2016. Now I have a little bit of trivia for you, Simon. Do you know if your win percentage in the CPL at TKR, was it like 50 to 55% or was it 55 to 60%?
Whoa, what a question. I tell you what, you're testing my maths here. Now, I'm going to go for, I'm in the middle here, 60%, 65?
Yeah, you're right. You're bang on.
Yes.
Yes. It was closer to 60%, which is a phenomenal record. It's probably the second best in CPL history. So we're proud and honored to have you as part of our setup. So let's quickly run through some interesting questions. And so basically, you're certainly not new to the CPL. because you've done a lot of work with the TKR in the past. Do you think that we at St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots will have that extra advantage, not just because you've had that CPL experience, but because this year the CPL is going to happen in Trinidad? So maybe some of the younger boys in the team could pick your brains into some of the nuances of the game.
Yeah, I suppose having 3 seasons in Trinidad, I got a good understanding of the Queen's Park Oval and obviously the dimensions, the wicket, etc. It's going to be a really interesting series for everybody because there's going to be a concentration on maybe 1 or 2 venues. So wickets may get tied or being used a lot over the tournament. But not just myself. Our captain is from Trinidad, and no doubt Rayad is going to be very, very important for us and his knowledge and understanding. Our vice captain, Dinesh Ramdan, also a Trini lad. So we've got some people who are even wiser than me in relation to the understanding of the ground and the location of where obviously the games are going to be played. Look, obviously the domestic competition in the Caribbean has been strong, so look, most players have used the facilities. But yeah, for our younger crew, it's always helpful to either have players or coaches who know the facilities and know the venue well. That may just give us that small edge now to help us win some of those close matches.
Absolutely. In fact, you kind of just answered probably my next question, which actually is the fact that some of our core members in the team, like you said, the captain, the vice captain, and even our opening bat, Evan Lewis, also comes from Trinidad. So, this is quite interesting because we can probably use some of their resources with your inputs and make the team better, especially from some of the younger boys from some of the other islands who are coming in as well, and the overseas players as well.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's an advantage, no doubt, for the guys who are used to the venue. I mean, Chris Lynn had a time at TKR as well, so he'll obviously know that the area well. The young spinner that we've got on our side, John Russ Jagasa, he's also from Trinidad. So we've got some players who are obviously going to be familiar with the facilities, as well as obviously the captain and vice captain you've talked about. Evan Lewis, I coached in my very first year in the CPL, and they're actually called the Red Steel in the second year of the CPL edition. So Ev's a quality player, and obviously we need him to perform well. But look, I think players are more versatile now than ever before. We have a lot more technology, a lot more data, a lot more information in which we can pass on to players to make sure that they're equipped and ready to go out and perform. But must be very careful. We don't go and play against the venue. We play against an opposition. And yes, use the venue to the best of your advantage, but it's sizing ourselves up and playing against oppositions effectively, strategizing well, but most importantly, that we've got to execute our roles as best we can. And if we do that, we're a good chance the Patriots can win.
Great to hear that, Simon. And I've got an interesting question given the prevailing conditions. So basically, as you're aware, this is with regards to, say, yourself and some of the other overseas players who are going to land up into Trinidad. There's going to be a quarantine period, as you can imagine, both once you get into Trinidad and once the tournament's over and you get back. So this is something obviously very new, and people call it the new normal. So how is it going to affect the mental preparation for some of these players, considering, say, the 14-day quarantine? And leading to my second part of this question, some of the, say, the newer rules, especially for the bowlers, like the faster bowlers who cannot possibly use saliva for shining the ball, etc. So these are something new which is going to happen, and this is probably the first big league which is happening after the COVID-19.
Yeah, well, answering the first question, obviously we're all going to have to learn and understand and cope with what overseas travel looks like now. Whether in competition for employment, maybe even people who are touring on holidays. We're going to have to make sure we follow the health rules, because it's not just about the individual, it's about everybody around. So St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots will be making sure that we follow precisely what the governmental and health regulations are. And within that, obviously as a coach, I'll be looking out to ensure that the players are going okay, both physically and mentally. No doubt that we'll have procedures and processes in place that are safe, that the players are still getting what they need to get done, whether it be in their rooms or if there's an allocation time where they can do some gym or whatever. We'll just make sure that we can do that. Communication is the key. Just like you and I are chatting now, and I'm not sure about you, but I've had lots of Zoom calls over the last 6 months compared to ever before. So I suppose communication is key, making sure that the players are clear and understanding of what needs to be done before the tournament begins, before we play our first match. In relation to the rules, you're absolutely right. I think we're probably going to be one of the early competitions that are going to have to cope with the new rules. And it's so important that we do follow them. Obviously, we're doing it for all health reasons. Different situations, obviously, with the day and the night, knowing the conditions in the Caribbean over this time. During the day can be fairly dry, so just making sure that we just keep the ball the way it is really and don't add saliva, etc. At night time, the dew factor is the biggest issue. So it's not actually, you're not actually really shining the ball in a sense. It's more so actually trying to keep the ball dry. And that's where players, no doubt, could probably put it in their shirts or on their pants and just dry, or use towels. We have towels, don't we? So in actual fact, that probably keeps things, I expect, pretty safe. It's more so during the day. I think that's going to be the greatest challenge, and that's where bowlers and fielders and coaches will need to be reminded.
Taking a cue from what you've just mentioned about the day games and the night games as well. So interestingly, this time around, there are 3 teams which kind of have owners who have interest in India, and so with regards to that, we probably have almost 50% of our matches which are 10 a.m. Local time start, and 50% are like the evening start, like around 5:30 or 6 in the evening. And also the scheduling. Normally it's probably like a 5-6 week tournament, but with traveling within the islands, etc. But now it's all compressed across 2 grounds in Trinidad. So how do you think like all these back-to-back matches are also going to play a role, especially with regards to some of the players who are probably going to play almost all the games? I mean, there will be few changes in the side as per the conditions and the opposition.
Yeah, it's a good question. I remember the season when I was coaching TKR and we won the final. We ended up having to play 6 matches in 10 days. As you know, when teams have travelled from island to island, you usually had to play a compressed number of matches. So all teams are used to this in some capacity. It's usually at some part of the tournament where you'd play a lot of games in quick succession. And then at some stage you would have a longer break, up to a week you mightn't play a game depending on what the scheduling was. As you said earlier, but this season it's all together. So as a coach, need to manage your players, need to manage especially your fast bowlers. We play lots of back-to-back matches, so it's all about recovery. There's not going to be much training once the season begins. We'll do our training at the beginning, have a mini pre-season if you like, just after the quarantine period, and then we're into the season proper. So besides some occasional top-up sessions or getting early to a game to give the reserves some extra training, which is obviously something that happens all the time in IPL, that's where we're going to have to be effective. Debriefing after matches, it might be done straight away, it might be done the next morning, it might be done in a pool recovery. So just being agile, being flexible as a coach, but also the playing group need to read and understand that, and have a plan in place, but be ready to adjust and change that plan according to the players' physical and mental needs.
And also, I would imagine that given the fact that 50% of the games are also day games, unlike say in the IPL where most of them are night games. So it's typically like sleep late, get up late for the players. Whereas with 10 a.m. starts, you can't afford to sleep late, get up late. You'll probably have to sleep early, get up early.
I'm not one to believe in curfews, but I will be knocking on a few doors and turning some lights out and make righto, gentlemen, off to bed. we've got to be up for an 8 o'clock bus in the morning, and you've got to have your breakfast. But
Correct.
It won't be as like that. But making sure that we as a group are looking after ourselves, I know a lot of our Caribbean friends like to stay up nice and late and have a good sleep in, which I do too, I must admit. But look, we're going to have to be really smart this season. We're going to have to make sure that we're ready. Because you've got to look after not only yourself as an individual, but also your teammates and be ready and raring to go as soon as that first ball's bowled. And at 10 o'clock, like you say, it's quite early. We need to be ready.
Correct. And moving on with regards to, say, our squad per se, before we take questions on, say, some of the draft picks and the overseas signings, I'd like to ask you, if you were to pick one X-Factor player from, say, the 7 retentions, like an X-Factor, who would that be? So the 7 retentions were Riyad Emrit, Dinesh Ramdin, as the signing or the trade from TKR, Evan Lewis, Fabian, Cottrell, Alzari, who's currently in England for the tests, and I think Dominic. So if you have to pick that one guy who would be your X-Factor, who would that be?
Yes, you're making life hard for me. I don't want to pick favourites here. They're all very important. They all have their different skill sets. But look, no doubt a fellow with the skills of Fabian Allen, he certainly has, a really strong strike rate, dynamic in the field, is able to bowl effectively too. He's a really important player, and no doubt many teams would reach out and want to have him in his squad. So I'm very much looking forward to working with Fabian. I've worked with Evan before. I've worked with Dinesh before. I haven't worked with Riyad before, but we've been on oppositions, and I'm very glad that the captain is on our team this year. He's a fantastic bowler. He's been, at the top of the bowling stats in CPL since it began way back in 2013. So, look, I'm looking forward to working with the whole group, having Chris Lynn coming over and being involved. And I know we'll talk about some of our overseas talents in a moment. But, look, I think we've got a blend of some really good X-Factor. And then we still need some people who are really reliable and may not have the strike rates and may not have the wickets, but certainly their economy rates, or their ability to work through and problem solve through different situations is incredibly important. And I strongly believe that's what T20 is all about. For those English Premier League fans out there or soccer fans out there who are probably out there celebrating Liverpool's recent championship win, you often T20 games are won by good defence. Even though we talk about great, huge sixes, exaggerated bowling deliveries, if you're really good defensively, then it enables your team to attack at certain times, whether it be in the field or with the bats. So if we can be strong defensively, have a really good, strong core, restrict teams, we don't have to make as many runs, and conversely, making sure that, we've got wickets in the shed to make sure we can capitalise in the back overs.
Correct. And now let's move on with some of our overseas signings. Let's talk about 2 of them to start with. Chris Lynn and Rassie van der Dussen. Rassie has actually played for us at St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, last year he was not available due to international commitments. And I think he's done fairly well for South Africa in the recent past as well. And of course, we hope to see some Linsanity.
Absolutely. Look, I know Chris for a long time. I've never actually had Chris Lynn in my team, so I'm really pleased that he's with us. Such a dynamic player, and if Chris Lynn can get away, Patriots fans, we're in for a good show and hopefully a big score, and no doubt a few wins. Rassie I haven't worked with before, but I look forward. I've watched him and I've seen his play. He has the ability to manipulate the role he plays, whether it's setting a foundation and developing a score, or in fact going crazy and getting the jobs done. So, look, I think he's a really sensible batsman, if you can use that word in T20 cricket, a person who assesses situations. And I know in speaking to him, he's really excited about coming over and having a full season with the Patriots and doing really well. And I think that's what I love about our overseas talent. To all the guys that I've spoken to, they're really looking forward to coming over and being part of the Patriots family. They're looking forward to obviously performing well individually, but most importantly, they're talking about team success, and that's what it's all about.
Yep. And moving on to our two overseas bowlers, Ish Sodhi and Sohail Tanvir. In fact, Sohail Tanvir can considered to be called as a bowling all-rounder as well. And
Yeah.
and Ish Sodhi, he's played in the IPL. He's with the Rajasthan Royals. He's
Yeah.
done phenomenally well for New Zealand in the past. He was also, I think, amongst the top T20 bowlers in the world going around. Your thoughts on him and Sohail Tanvir as well?
Yeah, so Hale Tanvir has been one of the most experienced players in the CPL. He's played for a lot of years. I think he might have missed last year, but he's back again for this year. He's a terrific player, great economy rate, very, very clever, lots of tricks. Looking forward to working with him. And Ish Sodhi, obviously being the premier leg spin bowler out of New Zealand. We know that leg spinners are so important in the makeup of a T20 squad, and we're really looking forward to having him. And then also Ben Dunk was also part of our overseas contingent. He's been around the world playing in the Big Bash, and obviously such an important left-hander that can bat either at the top or in the middle. And has a few crafty off spinners too, Nab, that we hope to be able to utilise throughout the season.
I think, if I'm right, Ben Dunk also had a phenomenal PSL and the MSL as well earlier this year and end of last year.
Yeah, he has. He's done really well in the Pakistan Super League, and obviously we took a keen interest in that. And that was one of the last tournaments, I suppose, played in a 2020 situation. So yeah, speaking to Ben, he's absolutely excited about getting the opportunity to come and play for the Patriots. Way back in the day, he was with the Antigua Hawksbills, I think it was,
Right.
before actually that changed.
Right. In fact, talking about one of the local signings done during the draft, we briefly mentioned about him earlier in our conversation, John Russ Jagisar. Did you know that in a friendly game last year, in a practice game, he actually got Brian Lara out?
Really?
Yep.
That's why we got him. Anyone who can do that. Brian Lara was actually over here, Nav, we had a bushfire appeal match.
Right.
And just recently we had some really bad bushfires here in Australia and especially in Victoria. And actually Brian came down and he was in sublime form. I think he was the crowd favourite. There were some pretty good cricketers out there. Ricky Ponting, Sachin Tendulkar was here, but Brian was he was certainly in superb form with those characteristic, beautiful check drives over extra cover, etc. Right. So if John Russ got him out, I tell you what, we're doing well.
All right. Before we sign off, we have a few more interesting questions to ask you.
Yep.
Have you ever worked or been to the Brian Lara Stadium? Because I think most of the matches in the CPL have actually happened in the Queen's Park Oval. I think the Brian Lara Stadium is actually new to the CPL, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's
that.
Yeah, that's correct. So, no, my intel tells us that's a fantastic venue. May have a little bit more grass than the Queen's Park Oval, and might be of some assistance to Azari and Sheldon and Sohail and Rayad to begin with. Obviously, as the tournament goes on, we'll just have to check to see how the surface plays. But it looks like a fantastic stadium. I think they might have played one game there. I could be wrong since my time away, but really looking forward to being at that ground, and hopefully, both grounds can do the Patriots well.
Excellent. Now, we did mention about the importance of technology earlier in our conversation. So if you could just throw some light as to how, say, the T20 game has evolved from, say, over the last decade or so, with the importance of technology and also the importance of, say, the team analyst or the data analyst and stuff like that. So how does it help both the players and the coaching and support staff as well?
Yeah, it's just become very much part of what we do in our preparation for a game. I often say we often do more with data analytics in a 2020 game than what we might do in a 4-day game or a test match. Reason being, we got to get results straight away. We've got to get the matchups right. So I suppose in talking to our fans, the main three areas that I look to use data and data analytics is firstly understanding the venue and the conditions we're playing at. What is an average score or a chaseable score, or what's the scores for a day game to a night game. So just getting some information, what are the dimensions, which wicket, etc. So trying to get as much information as possible so we can measure what our expectations should be on this given day at this given venue. Secondly, some players enjoy this, and some don't, is opposition analysis. Working out obviously what the opposition's weaknesses might be as individuals, but also as a team. You're not just playing one man, you're actually playing a combination. So what are our best tactics to ensure that we can negate their most attacking batsman or their wicket-taking bowler, or in fact their best economy rate bowler? Or their batsman who plays the anchor role. So it's not just looking at the individual in isolation, it's looking at the opposition team as a collective. So probably two aspects for that. But most importantly, the statistics that I like to see are where the St Kitts and Nevis Patriots play their best cricket. What is our best combination? What is our best make-up as far as pace, spin, where batsmen bat? According to situations, having a flexible order. Does that work with our team? Does it not work for our team? And lastly, and this is something that you don't have to do with data analytics, is making sure that our team have good and strong and honest relationships. And that's where we put the laptop down and we look at each other in the eye and we talk to each other about how we're feeling, what do we think the game needs and evolves. So there's a balance here. It's all the analytics and the information. We gather that. As I said, we close the laptop, we simplify the information, and then we convey it to our players. Okay, because the last thing we need is for our players to be confused or worried or overthinking, okay, what the statistics will tell us. Because all the players we have in our squad, our 17 players that we have in our squad, are good cricketers.
Right. And
they got here for various reasons. It's now my job, your job, and all of us together to make sure that we can work in such a strong way that's going to give us the best chance to win for ourselves, for our families, and most importantly, our fans.
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. Simon, I had another interesting question. This is primarily from a team bonding perspective and from a coaching and support staff perspective. At this level of the game, people know that coaches don't need to teach a batsman a front foot defense or hitting a sixer or a fast bowler bowling a Yorker or a spinner bowling a carom ball or a googly and stuff like that. And of course, there is also the data analytics part of it and stuff like that. But outside of all of this, what is that one or two or whatever non-cricket related activity which you personally like for, say, team bonding?
Yeah, sure. For me, it's all about...
I think from some of the stuff you've done in the IPL, I think some of it could include a cookery class or it could include a playing darts or ping pong, table tennis or whatever. So go for it. What do you think would work best given the Caribbean atmosphere?
Yeah, sure. So to answer that question simply, I always like to know more about my playing group and hopefully they get to know about me. And so if we can put ourselves in situations where we can be safe and happy but still vulnerable, I think that's good. Sometimes I might be just sitting down and you and I are having a catch-up, a coffee or a drink, and we just talk in general. Sometimes it can be more orchestrated where we do actually we break up into teams and we compete against each other. We might have some budding table tennis players or, as you said, darts, some mini golfers, whatever it might be. It seems to me that all of us like competition. So some mini competitions within a team environment outside our playing time can be a bit of fun. But more importantly, sitting down with each other, chatting with each other, talking about each other and finding more about each other. Yes, it can be fun. It can be competition. Sometimes it might be a bit more serious. You might tell me about, your favourite day and why. You can tell me what's the thing that you fear the most. And so there's different ways which we can have conversations, which take away from the rigours and the pressures of just batting and bowling. But I always talk about this with teams I'm involved with. It's been in the IPL, the Big Bash, the Afghan Premier League, the Bangladesh Premier League, and most importantly in the CPL. Whilst we are all together, and many of us come across from a long way away, as a coach, I don't come over and try and give all the ideas from an Australian perspective. I'm actually involved with the Patriots family, and I'm one member, and I'll be relying on Rayad, I'll be relying on Dinesh to make sure that we as a combination work together. I look to empower players, give players opportunity, not just on the field, but also off the field. And that's probably what I'm looking forward to most, getting to know everyone and making sure that we're collaborative, that we enjoy each other's company, we have lots of fun together, we're professional in our preparation, in our organisation, but most importantly, we give ourselves the best chance of success.
Excellent. Now, the last question before we sign off. Simon Helmot, the Patriots coaches, all-time CPL 11. What would that be?
Oh, tell you what, this has kept me up at night, Navneet. I've had some late nights lately with drafts and things like that. I've got bits of paper flying everywhere and I've even tried to ring up some friends because I wanted to get this right, but I don't want to be seeming biased, but I've done about 3 or 4 different teams. Am I only allowed to have 11? Only 11 players?
Only 11 with 4 overseas players. You can.
I've got to be 4.
Yeah.
Oh, is there meant to be 4 overseas players?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 4 overseas.
Tell you what, 11. So it's got to be 4 overseas players.
Yeah.
Inside this 11.
Yeah.
Tell you what, you've made
biased by picking somebody from the Patriots.
Don't worry, we've got that covered. Well, number 1's got to be the universal boss, Chris Gale.
Yeah.
Number 1. He's number 1. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to put a couple of players in because you want some overseas players. So I'm going to put some overseas players in this, okay? Number 2, I've got, there was a number of players. It could have been Simmons. It could have been Fletcher. It could have been Charles. But I've gone with Evan Lewis. Evan Lewis's strike rate is 140. His strike rate is higher than those guys.
That's a lethal opening partnership.
Not too bad. Yep. A couple of left-handers there, so they might be ready for the right arm. John Ross Jaggers off spin, but be aware of that. Well, I already had this fellow in. I'm going to have to think on my feet here, but that's what a coach has to do. Shoaib Malik has been a terrific player in the CPL. So I've got him at number 3. Okay. Number 4, I'm going to think on my feet here. This guy has only been involved in the CPL for 4 years. I've gone through guys who have been involved for a long time, but this fella's average is the highest in the competition. It's Colin Munro. He's been very good in the competition.
So you're done with 2 overseas players already.
Sorry?
You're done with 2 overseas players already. You've got only 2 more. All I had to do?
Was it only 2 or just only 2 more?
Yeah, you have 2 more.
I'm trying to get out of it, mate, aren't I? Okay. When it comes to number 5, I'm going with the captain of the team, Dwayne Bravo.
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne has been a terrific player for a long, long time. Now, number 6. This is where I had a few issues. I've got Coron Pollard at number 6.
All right.
I think Polly was one of the first captains to win the CPL, or maybe in the second year. Was it second year or first year? Second year, I think Barbados won.
Second year, yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving down the line, not necessarily in batting order. Did you want batting order? You don't care?
Oh, that's fine.
No worries. Okay, when it comes to the next player, I've got Sunil Narayan.
At number 7.
Yes. I've got Emirates at 8.
Okay.
Rayad's in one of the top perform players, both from a wickets point of view. This guy's only played for a small amount of time. Apologies to Samuel Badri. This guy's only played for a couple of years, but the South African Tahir. He's been
Oh,
terrific.
Imran Tahir, yeah,
In the couple of seasons he's played. Sahil Tanvir has one of the best economy rates and one of the best wicket-taking abilities in the competition. Apologies to Sheldon Cottrell. Apologies to Santoki, who's been very, very over the last few years as well. You know what we haven't got?
Yeah.
All these guys always miss out. Even at training, sometimes they get forgotten about. In Dinesh Ramden, because we didn't have a wicket keeper.
Oh, well
we
said.
need a wicket.
We need a wicket keeper.
Apologies to Chadwick Walton. He's been very good. And as I said, Johnson Charles at times has kept as well. Both been terrific cricketers over the time. But yeah, I think we put Dinesh in at 7. So I'll tell you what, that was painful, wasn't it? Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Interesting. Andre Russell didn't make your cut.
No, I didn't. Not in.
Awesome. That's a bold move.
I love Andre too. He made 100 against us once. Oh, when I say us, the old team. Oh, he was devastating. He's unlucky. He's unlucky, D. Russ.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, coming to towards the end of our conversation, a couple of questions. You've kind of been associated with the Patriots over the last few months. How's your experience been, and what are you looking forward to over the next few weeks and into the season?
Yeah, well, firstly, Navneet, thank you very much for someone like yourself who's made me feel very comfortable as part of the Patriots family and the administration coaching staff. Mahesh, our owner, we've had 150,000 phone calls, I think, already, whether it be on Zoom or FaceTime. And Mallow, our assistant coach. Look, we've had some really good conversations. So first and foremost, thank you to everyone who's made me feel so welcome. Those people who have messaged me on Twitter and other places who are Patriots fans, thank you very much for your acknowledgement. And I'm really looking forward to obviously not only just working with you guys, but most importantly with the players. And looking forward to it. Spoken to most of the players. The draft has happened. Look forward to communicating with everyone, making sure that our overseas players get over safe and sound, and that our domestic or our local Caribbean players are up and ready when we all congregate together in Trinidad. But so far, so good.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, Simon. It was lovely having you over, and hopefully we'll see you soon in the Caribbean.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye.